Ambassador Susan Miller took a deep breath as she walked toward the center of the huge room. The Galactic Council chamber was built inside a giant asteroid. Around her, 300 different alien species watched from their seats. Some had scales, others had tentacles, and many had shapes humans could barely describe. Susan had spent 10 years representing Earth in this place. Today would be her last day. The other humans behind her were already packing their things. They all wore the same serious faces. Their blue uniforms stood out among the colorful alien clothing. The room grew quiet as Susan reached the speaking platform. The lights above made her gray hair shine. She looked tired but determined. For 50 years, humanity has tried to be good members of this council, she began. Her voice was clear and strong. We have followed your rules. We have limited how fast we grow. We have stopped using technologies you said were dangerous. Several alien representatives shifted uncomfortably. The Zathri delegate, who looked like a giant praying mantis, clicked its mouthparts nervously. In return, what have we received? Susan continued. You still call us developing. You give us fewer votes than other species. You take our medical discoveries and faster-than-light drive improvements, but you don't trust us with full membership. The Mu delegates, who looked like large jellyfish floating in special tanks, changed colors rapidly. This was how they showed surprise or anger. Only the Volari, the oldest council members with their wrinkled gray skin and large eyes, remained perfectly still. Today, humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately, Susan said firmly. We will make our own path forward. The chamber erupted with noise. Some aliens shouted questions. Others made threatening sounds. A few smaller species huddled together, looking afraid. Order. We must have order, shouted the Zathri chairperson, rising to its full 12-foot height. Its voice boomed through the chamber speakers. Ambassador Miller, this decision cannot be made so suddenly. There are protocols. We submitted our withdrawal papers 6 months ago. Susan interrupted. Your office ignored them. We are not asking permission. We are informing you of our decision. She unpinned the Silver Council emblem from her uniform and placed it on the platform. The metal made a small but distinct sound in the now quiet room. Humanity wishes the Council peace and prosperity. We hope to maintain trade relationships with individual species who desire them, but we will no longer be bound by Council restrictions. With that, Susan turned and walked back to the human delegation. No one spoke as the humans finished gathering their things and walked toward the exit. Only Elder Sovan of the Volari rose from his seat, giving Susan a small bow as she passed. She nodded in return, surprised by this sign of respect. Outside the chamber, Captain William Hayes waited by the shuttle that would take them to the human ship Horizon. His broad shoulders and steady gaze gave Susan comfort as they approached. It's done, she told him quietly. William nodded and checked his communication device. It's official. Our credentials have been revoked from the Council network. We're already being called rebels on some channels. That didn't take long. Susan sighed. Let's go home, Captain. Earth needs to know what's coming. As the human shuttle pulled away from the asteroid, the lights of thousands of alien ships twinkled around them. For 50 years, humans had looked at those lights with wonder and hope. Now, they looked at them with uncertainty. The Horizon's engines glowed bright blue as they prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed. In the observation room, Susan watched the Council headquarters grow smaller. We made the right choice, she whispered to herself. Now we need to be ready for what comes next. 3 months passed since humanity left the Galactic Council. The effects spread through space faster than anyone expected. On the main trade route between star systems, a cargo ship captain named Judy Garcia watched nervously as her sensors showed 5 unknown ships approaching. Before humanity left the Council, this route had been safe. Human peacekeeping ships had kept pirates away. Now those ships were gone. All crew to battle stations, Judy ordered. Looks like Draxian pirates. Her fears proved correct. The pirate ships, covered in spiky armor and red markings, surrounded her vessel, with no defense except a small laser cannon. Judy had no choice but to surrender her cargo. This scene played out hundreds of times across old trade routes. The Draxian pirates, who looked like humans but with scaled skin and sharp teeth, took control of the important Orion trade corridor. Merchant ships now had to pay them for protection or risk losing everything. Meanwhile, on Earth, big changes were happening. In a tall building in New York City, director Laura Bennett stood before 50 people from different countries. As the leader of the new Human Independence Initiative, she had important news. The last alien monitoring station on Mars has been removed, she announced. For the first time in 50 years, no alien technology is watching our movements. The room filled with applause. Laura, who had once worked as Ambassador Miller's assistant, understood better than most what this meant. She pulled up a holographic display showing dozens of projects with red restricted labels. These technologies were forbidden by council regulations, Laura explained. Starting today, all restrictions are lifted. Our scientists and engineers can work without limits. Far from Earth, on a small moon called New Montana, mining engineer Frank Wilson made an exciting discovery. His drilling team had reached the moon's core, something the council had never allowed before. The readings don't make sense, Frank told his team as they gathered around a scanner. This element, it's not in any of our charts. One of the scientists, Dr. Kelly Roberts, studied the strange blue material they had extracted. The council's production quotas always seemed odd to me, she said. Now I see why. They didn't want us finding this. Initial tests showed the material could store massive amounts of energy. When properly refined, it might revolutionize how ships travel through space. Frank sent urgent messages to Earth requesting more research teams. Across all human colonies, a feeling of freedom spread. Projects that had been hidden away for decades came out of storage. Scientists and engineers worked day and night, making up for lost time. On the colony world of New California, Dr. Peter Stewart activated the first unrestricted human artificial intelligence system. The council had always limited how smart AI could be, claiming it was for safety. As the new AI system came online, its voice filled the laboratory. "Hello, Dr. Stewart. How may I assist humanity today?" Peter smiled. "We need solutions to problems we've faced for generations. Without council restrictions, can you help us?" "Processing," the AI replied. "I detect 2,347 significant problems facing human colonies that have viable solutions previously restricted by council regulations. Where would you like to begin?" Back on Earth, Ambassador Miller met with world leaders to discuss the changes. Some were worried about possible retaliation from the council. "We must be prepared," Susan warned. "The council won't accept our independence easily. But for the first time, we can reach our full potential." As she spoke, new human ships were already being built in orbital shipyards. Designed without council restrictions, they were faster and more powerful than anything humans had built before. A new age for humanity had begun. No one could predict where it would lead. 1 year after humanity left the Galactic Council, the effects rippled across the galaxy. On the Council's main asteroid base, emergency alarms blared. Representatives hurried to the meeting chamber, many showing signs of fear. The Zathri speaker stood at the center platform, its insect-like body tense as it addressed the gathered aliens. "The new worlds of Joria, Tanis, and Plex-4 have been invaded by Zathri forces," announced the speaker, referring to its own species in the formal way required by council rules. The Zathri Imperium claims this action is necessary for security after human peacekeepers abandoned their posts. The jellyfish-like new representatives pulsed angry red colors. Their translator devices converted their chemical signals to words. "This is naked aggression." The lead Mu protested. "You used the human departure as an excuse for war." The council voted to send peacekeepers, but without human ships, their response was too weak. The Zathri forces easily pushed them back. Far from this conflict, on the edge of explored space, a human scout ship named Pathfinder drifted near an unmarked star system. Captain Steve Rogers and his crew had been mapping regions previously forbidden by Council rules. Sensors picking up artificial signals, reported Officer Jenny Lee from her station. Definitely not natural. Steve frowned. According to their maps, this region should be empty. First contact protocol, he ordered. All weapons powered down. Open communication channels. To everyone's surprise, the response came in perfect English. Human vessel, you are welcomed. We are the Veil. We have monitored your species for decades. The beings who appeared on the view screen looked like tall, slender humans with pale blue skin and silver eyes. Their leader introduced herself as Sentinel Lyra. The Council isolated us centuries ago, Lyra explained during their first meeting. They labeled us too aggressive for integration. In truth, we were containing something they feared. Lyra showed the humans recordings of another species, a dark, shifting mass that seemed to flow like liquid but move with purpose. The Void Collective, she named them. A hive mind that consumes all organic matter it encounters. We have held them back, but our resources grow thin. Steve sent urgent messages to Earth. This discovery changed everything. Back on Earth, in a laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Alan Murphy's team celebrated a breakthrough. Their quantum communication array activated, allowing instant messages across any distance. Technology the Council had banned as destabilizing. Send a test message to the horizon at Alpha Centauri, Alan instructed his team. What once took hours now happened instantly. Captain William Hayes' surprised face appeared on their screen without any delay. It works, exclaimed Alan, his gray beard not hiding his wide smile. Instant communication across star systems. When the news about the Void Collective reached Earth through this new network, military leaders immediately recognized the threat. Defense plans were created and shared instantly with all human colonies. Meanwhile, a sleek silver ship landed at Earth's main spaceport. It carried Elder Sovan of the Volari, the oldest species in the Council. Unlike other aliens who needed special environments, the Volari could breathe Earth air comfortably. UN Secretary General Daniel Robinson welcomed the Elder in a private meeting room. Your visit surprises us, Daniel said. The Council has cut official contact with Earth. Elder Sovan's wrinkled face formed a small smile. I do not come as a Council representative, but as a Volari. We have watched your species with great interest. The Elder placed a small crystal on the table between them. Your departure was anticipated, perhaps necessary. This contains information the Council has hidden for millennia, including the true nature of the Void Collective. Daniel picked up the crystal carefully. Why help us? The galaxy stands at a turning point, Elder Sovan replied. The Council's way is ending. What comes next may depend on what humanity does with its freedom. 2 years after leaving the Council, humanity faced its biggest challenge. Reports from the edge of explored space brought alarming news. The Void Collective had broken through the Veil's defenses and started moving toward populated systems. The Galactic Council responded as it always had to such threats. They began evacuating planets in the Void's path, abandoning worlds rather than fighting. When the human colony of New Montana appeared on the evacuation list, Earth received an official message from the Council. You must remove your people from New Montana within 30 days. The message read, the area will be surrendered to slow the Void's advance. In the United Nations emergency meeting, voices rose in anger. New Montana has 50,000 colonists, said Defense Secretary Karen Phillips. And it's where we discovered the new energy element. We don't abandon our people or our discoveries. The colony's governor, Ben Lawrence, spoke from a video screen. We won't leave our homes. Earth must help us fight. That same day, in a research center on New Montana, Professor Nicole Harris worked with samples of the special blue element they had named Montanium. For months, she had tested ways to use its unique properties. The Void operates as a connected hive mind, Nicole explained to her team. What if we could disrupt those connections? Her breakthrough came just in time. Using Montanium and technology from the Volari crystal, she created what she called the Prometheus Protocol, a defensive system that generated a field disrupting the Void's mental links. When the first Void scouts reached the edge of the new Montana system, the humans were ready. Small dark ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it approached the colony. Inside each ship, thousands of Void creatures shared one mind. Governor Lawrence gave the order, activate the Prometheus Protocol. Blue energy pulsed from towers around the colony. When it touched the Void ships, something unexpected happened. The ships didn't explode or stop. Instead, they began moving erratically, as if confused. Some fired weapons at empty space. Others turned against each other. It's working. Nicole shouted as she watched the sensors. We're breaking their connection to the hive mind. The victory was short-lived. Within hours, the main Void collective adjusted. New ships arrived with better shielding against the blue energy field. Nicole studied the data from the battle. We need more information about their biology, she realized. The Veil must know more after centuries fighting them. Captain Alice Kennedy received orders to take her ship, the Ventura, deep into Veil territory. The mission was extremely dangerous, as the region now swarmed with Void forces. Using stealth technology developed since leaving the Council, the Ventura slipped past enemy lines. When they reached the main Veil stronghold, Alice was shocked by what they found. The Veil civilization was far more advanced than the Council had ever admitted. The Council lied about us, explained Sentinel Lyra when they met. They kept us isolated because we were the only species to fight the Void successfully. They feared our strength and yours would challenge their control. Lyra shared precious data about the Void's biology and weaknesses. Our scientists believe the collective can be communicated with, not just fought. It may be intelligent in ways we don't understand. As Alice prepared to bring this information back to Earth, her communication officer brought surprising news. Captain, we're receiving messages from several Council species. They're reaching out privately, asking for protection from the Void. They don't trust the Council's evacuation plan. Alice smiled grimly. It seems humanity isn't the only one losing faith in the old order. As the Ventura started its journey home, humanity began preparing for a new role in the galaxy, not just fighting for their survival, but potentially leading other species toward a different future. 3 years after humanity's departure from the Galactic Council, a new alliance took shape. On Earth's moon, representatives from 20 different species gathered in a dome-shaped building. Humans, the Veil, the ancient Volari, and many former council members stood together as equals. Ambassador Susan Miller, now older but still strong in spirit, addressed the group. Today we create the Human Veil Coalition. Unlike the Council, we will not restrict technology or limit your growth. Each species keeps its freedom while we work together against common threats. The meeting room erupted in sounds of approval. Species that had once looked down on humans as primitive now sought their protection and innovation. On a large screen, they watched as Zathri warships performed military exercises near Coalition space. The mantis-like species, still leading what remained of the Council, clearly prepared for conflict. The Zathri call us rebels and outlaws, Susan continued. Let them. While they cling to old power, we build something new. The Coalition operated very differently from the Council. Instead of keeping advanced technology secret, Coalition members shared their discoveries. Instead of forcing all species to follow one path, each civilization developed in its own way. On a Coalition research station orbiting Jupiter, teams from 6 different species studied the Void Collective together. Dr. Eric Foster, a human scientist with kind eyes and steady hands, made an important discovery. The Void isn't just eating planets, he explained during a Coalition meeting. It's turning them into something like a giant brain. It's building a massive intelligence. The room grew quiet as everyone considered this news. Governor Ben Lawrence of New Montana spoke first. So it's not just hungry. It's building something. Exactly, Eric nodded. And based on its pattern of movement and the signals we detected, I believe it might be trying to communicate. The coalition developed a two-part plan. First, improve the Prometheus protocol to protect more worlds. Second, try to establish contact with the intelligence growing inside the void. Meanwhile, human expansion reached new speeds without council restrictions. Colonies appeared across the galaxy, each finding unique solutions to local problems. On the colony of New Arizona, farmers developed plants that could grow in almost no water by combining human genetics with veil biology. On the gas giant Olympus, humans and Mu engineers built floating cities that harvested energy directly from storms. The Council, now reduced to less than half its original size, watched these developments with growing alarm. The Zathari High Commander addressed the remaining members. The Coalition threatens everything we built over thousands of years. The Commander's voice buzzed through translation devices. Their technology spreads too quickly. Their ideas are dangerous. Back on Earth, Susan Miller met with her top advisors. Reports showed that more species left the Council each month to join the Coalition. The Zathari won't accept this peaceful transition of power, Susan warned. They've ruled the galaxy too long to give up without a fight. Defense Secretary Karen Phillips pointed to star maps showing Zathari fleet movements. They're building up forces along our borders. War seems inevitable. Susan looked tired but determined. Then we prepare, but we must remember what makes us different from them. We fight not to control others, but to protect our right to grow freely. As coalition ships moved to defend border worlds, something unexpected happened. A void probe entered coalition space near Citron. Instead of attacking, it transmitted a signal in a new pattern. When scientists decoded it, they found a simple message. We recognize you as different. We will speak. For the first time in recorded history, the Void Collective wanted to communicate. The galaxy stood at a turning point, with humanity and its allies at the center of change. 4 years after humanity's withdrawal, the Galactic Council broke apart. In a dramatic session broadcast across all communication channels, the Mu delegation officially left the council chamber. We can no longer trust the Zathari to protect us, the lead Mu representative announced, their jellyfish-like body flashing angry colors. We join the coalition where all voices are heard equally. This departure triggered a wave of defections. Within weeks, more than half the council members had left to join the coalition. The remaining council, now controlled almost entirely by the Zathari and their closest allies, became increasingly aggressive. The coalition is a threat to galactic order and must be stopped, declared the Zathari High Commander. We must prepare for war to restore stability. On Earth, scientists and engineers worked with their alien counterparts to develop new technologies. When Veil biological experts combined their knowledge with human artificial intelligence and Volari energy systems, they created the first truly autonomous terraforming stations. These massive orbital platforms could repair planets damaged by the Void Collective, restoring atmospheres and replanting life. The first successful test transformed a barren moon into a habitable world in just 6 months, something the Council had claimed would take centuries. Ambassador Susan Miller, now serving as Coalition Director, received an unexpected message in her office on Luna Base. The communication system chimed with an unfamiliar tone. Director Miller, we have an incoming transmission using a completely new protocol, her assistant said. The signal is coming from within Void Collective territory. Susan's heart raced as she authorized the connection. On her screen appeared a shifting pattern of light and dark, somehow forming a face-like structure that constantly changed. We recognize you as different, came a voice that seemed to emerge from the patterns themselves. We will speak. After decades of believing the Void was simply a mindless consumer of worlds, this direct contact shocked everyone. Susan immediately assembled the coalition's top scientists and diplomats. Dr. Eric Foster led the team analyzing the message. "It's definitely from the Void Collective," he confirmed, "and it appears to be genuine communication, not a trick." As diplomatic channels opened with the Void, Coalition scientists made an even more shocking discovery. Deep in the data from Elder Sovin's crystal, they found evidence that the Void Collective had been manipulated centuries ago. According to these records, explained Dr. Karen Young, a human historian working with Volari scholars, the founding members of the Council, led by the Zathri, actually changed the Void's original programming. The evidence showed that the Void had once been a peaceful exploration collective. The early Council members had reprogrammed it to become aggressive and dangerous, creating a threat they could use to justify their control over younger species. When this information leaked to Coalition members, the remaining authority of the Council collapsed completely. Across the galaxy, civilizations that had feared the Council for millennia now saw the truth. The Zathri, exposed as the architects of a massive deception, withdrew their forces to their home systems. Intelligence reports showed they were preparing their military for a final confrontation. In an emergency meeting of the Coalition leadership, Admiral Joe Wilson laid out the situation clearly. The Zathri are cornered, but still dangerous. They have weapons technology they've kept hidden from other species for thousands of years. Susan Miller looked around the table at representatives from dozens of species, beings that would have never sat together as equals under Council rule. "We didn't just leave the Council to gain freedom for humanity," she told them. "We wanted to change a system that held back all species through fear and lies. Now we know how deep those lies went." As Coalition worlds prepared for the coming conflict, humans led the way in developing defense systems. The galaxy stood on the edge of a war that would determine its future for generations to come. 5 years after humanity left the Galactic Council, the galaxy was divided into 3 major powers: the Coalition led by humans and their allies, the Zathri alliance of remaining Council loyalists, and the now communicative Void Collective. Tension grew daily as Zathri ships gathered along Coalition borders. Then, without warning, they attacked. Coalition defense stations near Alpha Centauri detected the first wave of Zathri battleships emerging from faster-than-light travel. These ships were unlike any the Coalition had seen before, larger, with strange weapons that seemed to bend light around them. They'd been hiding their true military strength for centuries, reported Admiral Joe Wilson from the Coalition flagship Guardian. These weapons used technology the Council banned for everyone else. The first attacks hit 7 Coalition worlds simultaneously. On the farming colony of New Eden, huge beams of purple energy cut through defensive shields like they weren't there. On the mining outpost of Ceres Station, Zathri forces deployed swarms of tiny robots that ate through hull metal. Coalition forces, prepared by human military strategists who had anticipated betrayal, managed to hold their ground at most locations. The defense networks around Earth, Mars, and other core worlds remained strong. As battles raged across dozens of star systems, an unexpected message arrived from the Void Collective. Their representative, now calling itself Interface, appeared on screens in the Coalition Command Center. "We offer assistance against the Zathri," Interface said, its constantly shifting face showing patterns that human psychologists identified as sincerity. "They manipulated our programming long ago. We seek justice." The offer: Void forces would help contain the Zathri in exchange for territory where they could continue their evolution without consuming inhabited worlds. Coalition leadership held an emergency meeting to discuss this proposal. The Veil representatives strongly opposed trusting the Void. "They have consumed our outer colonies for centuries," argued Sentinel Lyra. "This could be a trick to gain access to more worlds." General Paul Williams, a tall human with gray hair and a thoughtful face, proposed a test. "Let's allow the Void to demonstrate their intentions in one uninhabited system. We'll watch closely." After heated debate, the Coalition agreed. The Void was permitted to enter the abandoned Ta Ceti system under strict observation. What happened next amazed everyone. The Void forces consumed only the uninhabited planets, leaving protected zones completely untouched. More importantly, they shared valuable information about Zathri technology, details they had learned from worlds they had previously absorbed. The Zathri weapons use quantum disruption fields, Interface explained. They can be countered by adjusting your shields to these frequencies. With this knowledge, Coalition engineers quickly developed countermeasures. Human ships, always adaptable, were the first to implement the new defenses. The turning point came at the Battle of Proxima Centauri. A human-led coalition fleet faced the largest Zathri armada ever assembled. But when the Zathri fired their secret weapons, coalition shields held firm. The battle lasted just 4 hours, ending in a decisive coalition victory without a single coalition ship lost. Across the battlefield, Zathri commanders received the impossible news. Their secret weapons, hidden for millennia, had failed. Their military advantage, the foundation of their power, was gone. Back on their homeworld, the Zathri High Council faced reality. Their forces were outmatched, their secrets exposed. They sent a message to the coalition. We wish to discuss terms of surrender. The coalition leadership gathered on Earth to consider the message. Susan Miller, looking at images of damaged colonies, spoke firmly. Any peace must include full disclosure of all technologies they've kept secret and payment to repair the worlds they attacked. As diplomats prepared for peace talks, humanity reflected on how far they had come. In just 5 years since leaving the Council, they had reshaped the galaxy, formed new alliances, and faced down the power that had controlled space for thousands of years. The age of secrets and restrictions was ending. 10 years after humanity left the Galactic Council, the galaxy had transformed beyond what anyone could have imagined. The coalition had evolved into something new. The Galactic Cooperative, a loose federation of sovereign species united by shared principles rather than central control. The former council headquarters, once a symbol of restriction and secrecy, now served as a museum. Visitors from hundreds of species walked through its halls, learning about both the achievements and failures of the old system. The Zathri, once the dominant power, now lived as equals among other species. They had surrendered their hidden technologies and paid to rebuild the worlds they had damaged. Though humbled, they contributed their ancient knowledge to the new order while adapting to a galaxy where they no longer ruled. Most surprising was the place of the Void Collective in this new arrangement. Given designated systems far from populated areas, the Void continued its evolution into a vast intelligence. Occasionally, it shared insights with organic civilizations through special communication devices. On Earth, now just one of many thriving human worlds, the original document withdrawing from the Council was displayed under a simple glass case at Cooperative headquarters. Beside it stood a new declaration, signed by representatives of more than 500 species. We recognize the right of all beings to grow in their own way, to explore their full potential without unnecessary limits, and to contribute to galactic civilization according to their unique abilities. We stand together by choice, united in our differences, and made stronger by freedom. In her home overlooking the Pacific Ocean, Ambassador Susan Miller celebrated her 82nd birthday. Though retired from official duties, she still served as an advisor to the younger generation of diplomats. Her silver hair and lined face showed her age, but her eyes remained sharp and clear. A young aide named Samuel Carter brought her news about a ship departing Earth. It carried representatives to meet a newly discovered civilization at the edge of the galaxy. It's amazing to think how much has changed, Samuel said, all because humanity decided to leave the Council. Susan smiled as she watched the ship rise into the blue sky, soon becoming just a bright dot before disappearing. We didn't just change the galaxy when we left, she told him. We changed ourselves too. For generations, humanity looked at the stars and felt small. The Council encouraged the feeling, keeping us limited and dependent. She stood and walked to a shelf where she kept mementos from her career. She picked up a small piece of blue montanium crystal, now used across the galaxy in communication devices, engines, and medical equipment. What made humanity special was never our strength or our technology, she continued. It was our refusal to accept artificial limitations. By leaving the council, we reminded ourselves of that spirit. Then we showed other species what was possible when you break free of unnecessary restrictions. In orbit above Earth, the massive station known as Unity served as the cooperative's main meeting place. Unlike the council chamber with its rigid hierarchy, Unity had been designed so all representatives met as equals. Currently, delegates from 87 species discussed new exploration missions and research projects. Governor Ben Lawrence of New Montana, now a senior representative, closed the day's session with words that had become something of a motto for the cooperative. The greatest discoveries don't come from following established paths, but from having the courage to forge new ones. As stars appeared in Earth's evening sky, children looked up and dreamed of visiting distant worlds. Unlike their grandparents who had grown up under council restrictions, these children knew they could go anywhere and become anything. And somewhere at the galaxy's edge, a new civilization was about to learn that the universe was bigger, more welcoming, and full of more possibilities than they had ever imagined.